never smoke the dizzy, but we can always share some disease. It's just a cup in time. This song doesn't have to rhyme. Life's all of us, not every moment we can be feeling fine. I wanna share a moment, just a second if you will, maybe even a cup of thrill. We could share this performance. It's tea time, come sit with me.
A special book. Oh, and we got some glitches, some wormholes. So if you see a black hole, just keep talking. We're going to keep it going. Good old technology, right? But before we get started, you guys know how Miss Liz rolls. We're going to get you guys over to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all the podcast apps out there that are available to you. Give those a like, follow, subscribe, and share these tea times because they do make a difference for the guest and for people who resonate with the stories that are shared on Tea Time. So let's get started with the disclaimer, and then I have a beautiful intro, and we're going to get Melvin in here, and we're going to share his tea. And his tea tonight is survivor, competitor, and ambition. That's the tea we're serving in the house of Miss Liz tonight. Disclaimer for Miss Liz's Tea Time live show. Miss Liz's Tea Time is a global platform dedicating to sharing real-life stories, diverse perspectives, and meaningful conversations that inspire awareness, healing, and connection. I'm Miss Liz is going live using StreamYard. Before leaving a comment during the live broadcast, please grant StreamYard permission to display your name at StreamYard.com. Please be advised that all the content brought forward during any Tea Time show is presented in good faith. However, discussions may include opinions, beliefs, and perspectives that do not necessarily represent the views of Miss Liz or the Tea Time platform. Information shared by guests is based on their own experience and is perceived to be accurate at the given time of airing. All guests, viewers, and participants are responsible for using their own judgment when considering action or decision that may relate to these discussions. Some episodes may cover sensitive topics, including but not limited to trauma, abuse, grief, mental health, and other emotionally triggering subjects. Listeners' and viewers' discretion is strongly advised. Tea Time with Miss Liz is an open discussion forum designed to offer insight, inspire awareness, and create connection. It is not a substitute for professional, medical, legal, or therapeutical advice. If you require professional support, please seek assistance from qualified professionals or trusted resources in your area. If you have any questions regarding this disclaimer or the content of the discussion, you are welcome to contact me, aka Miss Liz, directly at bookingmissliz@gmail.com or visit my link tree at Miss Liz's Tea Time. By choosing to participate in, comment on, or view these live shows, you acknowledge and accept this disclaimer. Your participation is entirely voluntary. I, Miss Liz, welcomes you to join the conversation with an open heart, and if at any time you feel this platform is not right for you, I respect your wishes and decision and welcome you back whenever you are ready. Tea Time with Miss Liz is serving truth and awareness one cup at a time. Well, welcome to Tea Time with Miss Liz, where we talk about real life, real consequences, and real transformation. Today's guest brings a story that challenges the way we look at mistakes, justice, and second chances. Please welcome Matthew Melvin, author of Bullied Behind Bars, A Gay Christian Goes to Prison. Matthew's journey is one marked by misunderstanding, adversity, and the consequences of choices made in a world that did not always make room for who he was. Growing up feeling different and later receiving an adult diagnosis of autism, Matthew struggled to find belonging after becoming involved in a criminal activity and serving time in a federal prison. His life took a turn that forced him to confront hard truths about responsibilities, identity, and redemption. Through his story, Matthew speaks about bullying, incarceration, the challenges people face after prison, and the importance of compassion and accountability. His message is not about excuses, it's about awareness, growth, and making sure others do not walk the same difficult path. So grab your cup and lean in. Today's Tea Time is about hard truth, second chances, and the courage it takes to rebuild a life. Let me get Matt in here. Let's spill some tea together. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's a real pleasure.
It is a pleasure to have you here as well, Matt. So, Matt, who were you as a little guy and who are you now?
I was bullied throughout almost all of my childhood. I grew up in a family where we were taught that emotions were not to be presented to the outside world. They were to be hidden, repressed, and denied, stuffed. Suck it up, buttercup. Real men don't show emotions. And as a result, here we are today.
So, Matt, who are you today? And then we'll get into your story.
I'm a thriver, a man that's been through everything imaginable and come out a true Christian. If it weren't for my prison experience, I wouldn't have the strong discipline I do today in reading my Bible, praying, getting physically fit, fasting. All of those disciplines I learned because I spent a lot of time in solitary confinement.
So, Matt, let's talk about your book and how the book started and all that good stuff. But let's go right to the beginning of the story on how you got to prison.
The first or the second time?
Oh, we have two times? Let's start with the first time.
Yes. So the first time was in 2004. I worked at a car dealership, Freedom Nissan. They didn't pay me my commissions. As a result, I impulsively chose to try to sell one of their cars, got caught, went through the traditional court instead of going through the mental health court. Judge Jeffrey Crawford and Bob Wolford both decided I didn't meet the criteria. I did 18 months. When I came out, I couldn't pass a background check. As a result, I used other people's information to get a job. I did the work. The government pursued me for 6 years, got a grand jury indictment against me in 2016, and I did another 18 months, 10 different institutions, 4 states, 18 months.
Why so many different? Why so many different institutions, Matt?
A lot of different reasons. One would be they didn't know what to do with me. The guards and the inmates would lie and tell the guards that I tried to proposition them. They would put me in solitary confinement. I would write grievances. And the grievance system is the complaint system in the jails and prisons.
So you the first time you were in jail was in 2016, or is that the second time?
No, that's the second time. The first time was in 2004.
And how long were you in jail for the first time, Matt?
18 months both times.
Oh, so both times.
Yeah, same judge, actually. It's really eye-opening for people to realize that Vermont is such a small state, 600,000 people in the whole state. I don't know anybody else who has ever done 2 different prison sentences, one in state and one in federal, that had the same judge.
So, Matt, I'm going to pull up your book. If you want to just talk about the book and the title of the book and the cover and all that good stuff for all the audio listeners that can't see the cover.
Bully Behind Bars, a gay Christian Trump supporter goes to prison. The reason I chose that title was because I, for most of my life, was taught to put masks on, pretend to be somebody I'm not, stuff emotions. And I was miserable. My title shows who I am, the character I am, and I'm no longer going to wear a face mask. And what you see is what you get. What other people think of me is none of my business.
So, Matt, we have a question that came in for you, and it says, how did Matt find the strength to keep going through those experiences?
I believe that God gives us opportunities to become better people. There's always 2 sides of the coin. You can look at it as challenges. I choose to look at it as opportunities. because of my strong faith, I had a near-death experience in 2015 where I was almost killed by an out-of-control driver. That experience for me was where I believe God was drawing a line in the sand, saying, you're either going to do my will or you're going to do your own will. You're going to lie, cheat, steal, go to prison, come out, and the revolving door was going to continue. And I didn't want that for my family. I didn't want that for me. And I needed to make a change.
Matt, we have a question. What was the hardest moment you faced while dealing with bullying in prison?
Like I mentioned, a lot of the inmates would lie to the guards and tell them I tried to proposition them. At one point, they actually put a big table in front of my cell door. In a way, I felt like I was targeted constantly. I used that as ammunition to become a better person, to get stronger in my faith, to read my Bible, praying, because I knew that God was always with me, even though I couldn't see him. You know, faith is a sixth sense. In order to have faith, you have to accept Genesis 1:1. If you don't accept Genesis 1:1, you might as well close the Bible and move on.
So what did you learn from being in prison with all the bullying and that about yourself, Matt?
That I am a thriver. I can get through anything that's put in front of me. And I have the tools in my tool belt to get through anything.
So Matt, when people read your book, what are they going to find in this book?
They are going to see a man that was in a lot of pain and hadn't come to the realization that he could be loved. He is worthy. He is good enough. And until I started loving myself, forgiving myself, I can't love or forgive another person.
So Matt, when you wrote your book, how long did it take you to write it?
4 years, and then another 2 to edit.
And did you find it re-traumatizing when you had to write your book?
Trauma is an interesting thing. Trauma never goes away. I've seen people say that trauma, I've gotten over trauma. That is untrue. There's no way you can get over trauma. I think I have better tools than I ever have had, but trauma still exists. I mean, let's just call it spade a spade. When a police officer is behind me, I am uncomfortable, and that will never go away.
So Matt, do you speak on prison incarceration and that, like in conferences and events and webinars and stuff like that?
I would love to have more speaking engagements. If you or anybody you know wants to have me come and speak, I would love to have the opportunity. My story started from before the car. It started with speeding, walking out of restaurants without paying, driving off without paying for gas. Because those issues were not dealt with properly, it accelerated. If you or somebody you know is engaging in small level crimes, marijuana use, other small level petty crimes, those will accelerate if it's not dealt with properly.
So you started off small and then you went to the big.
Yes.
So what age were you when you started off small, petty crimes?
20.
So what was it that you were seeking at that time, Matt?
Validation, seeking approval. In a way, I feel that some of the events that happened were a way for me to stand up to bullying, because I had been bullied throughout most of my life.
So for anybody who has come out of prison, what message would you have for them with the experience that you went through, Matt?
Forgive yourself, accept yourself for who you are, love yourself, and find a good group of people. If you are surround yourself with other people that are engaging in criminal activity, you will engage in criminal activity. If you surround yourself with other broke people, you'll be broke. Find positive people that will engage with you in activities that are not isolating. Dancing, swimming, cooking, gardening. All of these activities help you move your body. Of activities such as sports and video games are very isolating, and they offer no substance. And find a community of people that can support you. Be honest with what you're looking for. That way you won't get hurt on the back end if you're honest on the front end.
And Matt, how did those experiences shape the person you are today?
Oh, it made me a stronger person. I didn't think I would be able to get through it, but I did. I persevered. I didn't allow the yelling and the screaming to consume me. I know a lot of people who are living in a prison in their mind. They're living with unresolved hate, resentment, shame. All of that. Fear is another one, or codependency is another one. All of these will inhibit somebody's ability to move past.
So how did prison challenge your understanding of yourself?
It made me reflect on how I got to where I'm at, how I can come out a better person, and how I can use the tools I have so that I don't reoffend.
And what was going through your mind when you made the decision to change your life?
I had a near-death experience in August 2015. I was almost killed by an out-of-control driver. And I believe that's the time that God was drawing a line in the sand, saying, you're either going to do my will, or you're going to do your own will. You're going to lie, cheat, and steal, go into prison, come out, and it was going to be a revolving door, and I didn't want that. I was a lukewarm Christian for almost all my life. I was going to church on Sunday and then going back to my old life, being dishonest and stealing and manipulating people to do what I wanted them to do. In order to be a true disciple of God, I had to get my life aligned with God, similar to when you go to get your car aligned with the manufacturer. That's the way everybody has to do it.
So you had a life alignment.
Not 90% obedience is 100% disobedience.
So for you, it was a life alignment.
Yes.
And what does taking responsibility mean to you today, Matt?
Admitting what I did, forgiving myself, apologizing. It goes back to Bill's big book, the 12 Steps of AA. You may not be an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic. But all of those steps are true in any addiction that you may have, or any mind-altering substance that is taking over your life. So even fear, codependency, that can all apply.
When you hear the word responsibility, what do you think of, Matt?
Taking ownership for how I got to where I'm at. Using I statements, not using you, we, they statements. Because those remove complete responsibility from the individual.
We have a question that just came in. I want to get it out to you. What motivated you to write Bullied Behind the Bars and share your story publicly?
I had inspiration from a man named Louis Zamperini, who went through a lot. He was in World War II. He was beaten by some Japanese captors. One of those, I can't remember what his name was, but it doesn't really matter. But Louis had he was spinning out of control. When he got home, he was drinking, and the only thing that got him through was his wife convinced him to go listen to a Billy Graham talk. And he remembered when he was in a boat, he promised God that if God brought him to land, he would start doing God's will.
So Matt, you mentioned ownership for the word responsibility. You mentioned life alignment for changing your life. Do you look at your life as like a car?
That's a good analogy. Yes, I do.
So the four wheels, is that the new beginning? Is that rolling out all of the hardship in your life?
Yes.
And I want to talk to you about your T, because your T is survivor, competitor, and ambition. You give me the word survivor, but then you give me competitor. So who are you competing with?
Who am I competing with? I'm competing with myself.
Now, is that competitor competing to be the survivor? Or is a survivor?
That competitor wants to always be a better man, is never content with where he is currently, and wants to help other people.
And your last word you gave me was ambition. Why that word, Matt?
To help other people to become a better man.
So Matt, for all the men that are listening to this story today and that will catch the replay, what message do you have for them?
Don't stay silent. Find a tribe. If you're a man, men. If you're a woman. Don't rely on your spouse as the sole person that you find comfort in. I started doing men's work in February 22, and it was transformational. In my whole entire life, I've probably seen about 60 therapists. I don't believe therapy works for me, but I want each person to try different things, because what works for me may not work for another person. But why I like men's work is because when you're on a weekend and you don't have a phone, you don't have all those luxuries, you're not distracted by outside forces, and you're with a bunch of guys and you're seeing that what you're going through is pretty similar to what another man is going through. Yeah, maybe not everybody's been to prison, but a lot of the guys have been in a prison in their mind. They lost a father. There's some traumatic event. When a man comes to a men's weekend, there's a reason. There's a reason why that man is coming to the weekend. He's saying, I'm not perfect. I want to work on myself, and I want to strive to be most of the men that come are fathers. I'm not a father. To be a better father to my kids, a better example to my kids, to lead by example and not use distractions, addictions as the sole umbrella for that man. I mean, we're all more than those labels.
Absolutely. Matt, I really want to thank you for being deeply open and honest. A lot of the viewers are saying thank you for sharing and appreciating the honesty that you're sharing here tonight. And this is why Miss Liz opens the floor. I want men's stories out there as well, because men do have stories as well, and they matter just as much. You've been asked this question a couple of times. What inspired you to write Bully Behind Bars? We have viewers that are coming in, and you've already answered that, but if you'd like to quickly just answer that again for this viewer out there, what inspired you to write the book?
I didn't want to have anybody go through what I went through. I had several inspirations. Louis Zamperini was one of my major inspirations. Anne Frank was another major influence. I had the honor and privilege to meet Angela Lansbury in 2019. That was also an inspiration for me to write my book. Amazing woman. If you listen to what she says, and I remember a distinct interview where she said that most people find life to be very, very difficult.
So Matt, I want to talk to you because you were diagnosed at an adult age for your autism. What age were you when you were diagnosed?
I'm sorry, say that again?
What age were you diagnosed for your autism?
5.
Oh, at 5?
No, 25.
Oh, 25.
Yeah.
And how did that affect your life?
It didn't, I don't think it really had much of an effect. I knew I was different. I knew I had a hard time making friends. I felt like I was an outcast. I was overweight. That was a huge reason why I was bullied throughout most of my life, was because I was overweight. And until I started exercising, getting in shape, I really became a better man, because in order to be a true disciple for Jesus, in my opinion, you have to be in shape. You have to lead by example.
Did you hear that a lot growing up, lead by example?
Yes, absolutely.
Who'd you hear it from?
Mentors, teachers.
Did you hear it from your father?
My father is a pushover. My parents are both very codependent, and I never want to be in a relationship of codependency. My brothers are in codependent relationship. I have a lot of friends that are in codependent relationship. If you are in a codependent relationship, try to do what you can to get out of that codependency. We all need to be independent. We can't be relying on another person. Another person will not make us happy. We determine our happiness.
So do you find that because you were diagnosed with autism that you were treated differently in the prisons?
I don't think so. I think I would have been treated the same way if I was diagnosed or I wasn't diagnosed.
And what did the isolation teach you about your strength in prison?
That I can get through anything.
How did you get through that time?
I was journaling. I was writing everything that was going on. At one of the institutions, they actually confiscated my journal entries. I was a threat.
Were you writing stuff you shouldn't be writing, Matt?
Oh, I was writing everything that was going on from my perspective.
And how did your faith evolve during incarceration?
It only became stronger. I was able to attend different Bible sessions of cults, because Jehovah's Witness, Christian Science, Scientology, all of these cults come into prison. Why? Because a lot of men that are in prison want to be loved. They're missing that love piece. And they think that a religion is going to bring them something, and it won't. But I wanted to
go ahead, Matt.
The reason I went to these is because I want to hear what they're saying. I want to hear the promises that they're telling people. I can't be a true disciple for Jesus if I encounter somebody from Jehovah's Witness on the outside and I don't know what they stand for. I can't help bring them to God. So I have to be educated. Just like, if I don't know what's in the Bible, how can I preach the word? We all need to be knowledgeable if we're going to teach somebody about something.
And what misconceptions about prison life needs to be addressed?
That the food is good, the food is gross.
So the food's no good. So what other misconceptions are people that think they know about prison but haven't been to prison and you think they should know?
Shows like 60 Days In sensationalize what the true prison experience is. It's a terrible experience. And it's a very different experience when the cameras are on versus when the cameras are not. I mean,
Sure.
let me back up for 1 minute. There's always cameras. There's cameras everywhere in an institution. What I'm saying is the film cameras.
So Matt, did you find that you were being watched in prison?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was in solitary confinement, there was a camera in my cell.
So Matt, I'm going to start talking about the heavier stuff. So I'm just going to put a trigger warning up because your story is deep in the book. You do talk about being gay, being raped, and being targeted in prison. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
I will say that without giving everything that's in my book, I was raped, I was assaulted by a sex offender. A lot of the units that I was put in were supposedly mental health units, but they really were sex offender protection units. So that was another challenge, as I would get labeled as a sex offender when I'm absolutely, I abhor sex offenders. So
Because you were put in those ones that were for
I
sex.
was put in mental health units because I have a mental health disorder, or I hate to use the word disorder, a mental health diagnosis. Unfortunately, a lot of the people that are put in the mental health units are sex offenders because they protect them. The institutions protect them.
Yeah, they do. They put them in protective custody.
Correct.
I'm aware of that. Matt, what role did ambition play in both your mistakes and your recovery?
It helped me get through all the hard, difficult times that I was put through. And without that hope, I might as well just lay down and die.
So Matt, did you turn, besides writing and journaling in prison, did you turn to music? Did you turn to reading? What else did you turn to?
Reading my Bible. That was what I turned to. Exercising, as I mentioned, fasting, watching what I ate. There were days that I didn't eat anything. I was very mindful about what I was going to put in my body.
Well, you already mentioned the food wasn't good.
It was terrible.
So was there one place that you preferred over the others?
They were all terrible. There was no one institution that was better than another. They're all terrible. It's no place that anybody wants to go. And
the reason I asked that question is because I want people to realize that they're all not good. Like, you know, not one outshines the next one. They all have their faults and they all have things that people do not see in the outside world. Were there things in prison that you've seen that surprised you?
I saw an individual walk up to the second tier and swan dive and end up paralyzed probably for the rest of his life. That I didn't expect. I didn't expect the amount of yelling and screaming. I mean, we see that on 60 Days In all the time. But I think that that's staged, quite frankly.
And what does justice look like to you now?
The judicial system is corrupt. It's a mess. It incentivizes lawyers, police officers, and judges to get convictions. And that's how they move up within the ranks.
You said that both times you had the same judge. Is there a reason for that? Was there only one judge in that area?
No, there's many judges. I'm not going to hypothesize about why I think that I got the same judge.
And Matt, what message do you want people to get from your book, Bullying Behind Bars?
My story can relate to anyone, even if you haven't been in prison. My story can touch you. Most people know somebody that is engaging in bad decision making, and that's what my story started with: bad decision making after bad decision making. I met a lot of drug addicts when I was in prison, and they would always say the same thing: I just need the drug one more time and then I'll stop. And that's the way I was. I just need to steal one more time and then I'll stop. And then it just snowballed. So what we need to do is stop right now, because what we put off tomorrow needs to happen today.
So what is your favorite scripture in the Bible?
He who is without sin cast the first stone.
And why?
It's very easy to see faults in another person. It's much more challenging to look at our own faults.
And Matt, as a little boy, you said you felt outcast, lonely, and friendless as a childhood. For all the little guys that are out there that are feeling that way, what message would you have for them tonight?
Find a tribe of men if you're a man. I talked about this earlier. Woman if you're a woman, that will support you. If you're neurodivergent like I am, find men and women that are neurodivergent. If you're neurotypical, find men and women that are neurotypical. A neurotypical person will have a much harder time understanding a neurodivergent individual. I see it today all the time.
So Matt, are you still in Vermont?
I am still in Vermont, yes.
And in Vermont, after getting out of prison, was there any support services or anything?
No, there's no support services offered.
Is that something that you feel that should be happening for people coming out of prison?
I do. That's the big reason why the recidivism rate is so high. Louisiana locks up more people than any other state, yet the recidivism rate is still the same. We know that locking people up is not the solution.
Do you think by writing your story and sharing your story tonight, you'll have other men come forward and share their story as well with you, Matt?
I want people. Reach out to me, bulliedbehindbars@gmail.com. You can follow me on Instagram, bulliedbehindbars. X, bars bullied, Matthew.melvin.5621 on Facebook. Talk about what's going on. Don't isolate. Find activities that you can engage with other people.
Matt, I'm going to pull your book up again. If you just want to share with the new viewers that are coming on a little bit about the cover. Most people know what the flag stands for, but if you just want to share a little bit about the cover and the title and all that stuff a little bit.
Most of my life, I pretended to be somebody that I wasn't. I was taught to hide, repress, and deny emotions. This cover was a sign that I was no longer going to try to appeal to the outside world. I'm my own man. I stand in integrity. I'm not going to try to hide who I am to appease the outside world.
So Matt, you mentioned accountability. How long did it take you to take accountability for your actions?
It took a while. It didn't happen until the second time that I went to prison.
And did you have a heart-to-heart talk?
I started writing my book. That's where I started taking responsibility for my wrongdoing.
So did you have a heart-to-heart talk with your inner child when you wrote the book?
Yes.
And what did Matt say to that little boy?
I love you. You're needed. You're valuable. I care about you. You're worthy. I forgive you. Forgiveness is a huge piece of my story. Until I started forgiving myself, I couldn't forgive other people. And I had to forgive everybody who had done wrong to me.
So you talk about identity. Did you struggle with identity growing up?
I didn't know who I was. Yes, absolutely, no question. I was trying to appease my parents, try to pretend to be somebody that they expected to me to be, stuffing those emotions that really killed me. And I wear my emotions on my sleeve now. Men who show emotions are real men.
And Matt, do you believe in second chances?
I do, yes. We all deserve second chances. We've all done things that we're not proud of.
So, Matt, I want to get into, because you say that you were a Trump supporter, and I know some of my views are going to come at me, but tell us why you're a Trump supporter.
I've always been a fan of his. I volunteered for him in 2016, knocking doors in New Hampshire. I loved it. There's so much energy that comes from going to a Trump rally. I don't like everything about him, but he says what's on his mind. I wish the language was better, but he speaks like a CEO. I've met a lot of CEOs, and there is no filter on them.
So, do you have a strong political belief?
I do.
And is that part of your faith belief as well?
Absolutely, no question.
So, did you have faith before going into jail?
I had lukewarm faith. I believed in God. I only went to God when I was in dire straits. And I know a lot of people use God as a manipulation tool.
And Matt, let's talk about the justice system. How do you feel the justice system could be changed by writing your book?
I think there needs to be more mental health programs. The mental health assistance is not even close to what it needs to be. I think there needs to be more training from law enforcement all the way up to the courts about mental health. I don't think it's very well understood. It seems to me that everybody is treated the same. I should say everybody who doesn't have money is treated the same. The wealthy are treated much differently. So there's two classes of people, the haves and the have-nots.
So, Matt, if you had a chance to stand in front of the people that did you wrong as a child and in prison, what would you say to them today?
I would want them to admit what they did, and I'd want them to apologize and tell me how they're going to do things differently in the future.
And Matt, if you could look at yourself in the mirror right now, what would you say to yourself?
I love you. I'm proud of you. You've been through so much and came out a better person. You could have been miserable, playing victim, but instead you are taking responsibility for your actions and trying to inspire other men and women.
Now, if there was a school or a college out there that would like to hear your story, would you be open to doing that?
Yes.
Why?
I want to inspire other people. I want to talk in front of large groups of people to share what can happen if small level crimes are now dealt with properly.
Small level crimes.
Because it will escalate ultimately, like in my situation.
So do you feel that it starts off small, then it gets bigger and bigger?
Right.
So if it's not handled correctly at the small level, then the larger level becomes out of control.
Absolutely, because when somebody gets away with a small level crimes, the risk factor will heighten.
And Matt, you gave me your favorite color was green. Why green?
It always has been green. I love St. Patrick's Day. I've always been a fan of St. Patrick's Day.
Why St. Patrick's Day?
I just love the luck of the Irish leprechauns.
So you like the leprechaun?
Yes.
Is it the rainbow, the gold at the end of the rainbow?
Something like that.
And green represents what in your life today?
Ambition, growth.
And one word prison taught you?
Overcome.
Do you want to get deeper into that one?
I overcame a lot of adversity and came out a stronger person.
And the toughest day, what kept you going?
My faith in Jesus Christ.
And what song do you turn to pick you up?
Come, Jesus, Come by CeCe Winans.
Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. Is it the lyrics or is it the beat of the music?
Both.
That is a good one. Competitor in your arena now. Who is your competitor beside yourself?
Other men and women that have gone through what I've gone through.
And finish just persistence means
Never giving up.
and what part of the book would people be most surprised about? Oh, did you freeze up, Matt?
Oh, I'm thinking. A lot of people blame God when things don't go their way and don't understand that because I may pray for something and I don't get it, that doesn't mean God isn't there. And the first step, the most important, because there's 5 types of prayer, and the first one is thanksgiving. We need to be thankful in everything that we do. Thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for, and the small things, you know, when you're in prison, you don't realize, you know, having the window, being able to walk outside. You don't have those luxuries in a prison.
So what are the other 4 ones?
What are the other?
You said there was 5?
Oh, praise, rejoicing. All of those are really, really important.
Now, if I give you the word transformation, do you feel you're going through a transformation right now, Matt?
I'm always going through a transformation. I know a lot of people say I've been with my partner for 15 years and that partner isn't the same person they weren't 15 years ago. Of course, we all are transforming. We're all different people than we were.
And when you hear the word redemption, what does that mean to you?
Coming back from a place.
And what place would that be?
It may not be a good place.
So Matt, let's go back to that car. We're going to go right back to the beginning. We're at the end, almost at the end of the show, but I want to talk to you about that car because you mentioned ownership, life alignment, and we went back to the tires and the movement and that. What car got you in trouble so you can stay away from that kind of car again?
It was a Mitsubishi Galant.
And what did that car teach you?
That car taught me that I should never work in a car dealership.
Do you have a car today?
I do.
Is it that car?
It is not.
Well, Matt, I want to go back to the color green. You really like green, so let's get deeper into the green. Do you feel that green saved your life?
Yes.
Do you understand what I mean when I say saved your life?
I think you mean it got me through the hard times.
Do you find that green was like a root, like a seed that made you open your eyes to
Yeah,
change?
absolutely.
Miss Liz just doing her tea stuff here, digging a little deeper into the teas. Today, Matt, what are you doing to try to live and survive?
Talking to folks like yourself, your audience, other audiences, to try to inspire people to become better people, to get out of victim mode, to take responsibility for their actions, love themselves, forgive themselves, and forgive others. And find activities that are fun and not isolating.
And Matt, what are you doing for fun these days?
I'm an ocean swimmer. I love going way out deep.
You want to share a little bit about that? Ocean swimmer. I've never had an ocean swimmer on Tea Time.
There's nothing better than being out in the ocean, not knowing what's underneath. I've had people ask me, aren't you afraid of sharks? I'm not afraid of sharks. Look, a shark can sense fear in an individual.
So if you're scared of it, it's coming for you.
I'm not scared. Fear has never been something that has ever been a problem for me. I am fearless. If I wasn't fearless, I wouldn't have had these examples that I mentioned. I've driven 130 miles an hour on the highway.
I think it's cool that you're an ocean swimmer. I've never been in the ocean, so maybe one day I'll get in the ocean and I'll swim.
It's amazing. It's freeing, but it's a skill. Swimming in an ocean is very different than swimming in a pool. Two different skill sets.
And Matt, what feedback are you getting from people who have read your book?
Most are pretty positive.
Do you feel that we need positive and negative feedback in order to grow?
I think we need constructive criticism.
Have you gotten some of that?
Oh, I get it all the time.
So, Matt, do you have any plans of writing a second book?
I get that. I ask that all the time. If you follow me on Instagram, you can find all of my poems are there as well that I've written. I don't know if I'd write another book. It's an arduous task. It's a very, very difficult because once you write something, it's out on the internet for forever.
Don't we know? You mentioned poems. Are those poems you wrote when you were incarcerated?
They were, yes.
Have you ever thought about publishing those?
Maybe.
That might be a second book that's coming.
Maybe.
So do you have any plans for the future? Anything you'd like the viewers to know?
I am going where God shows me to go. I spent a lot of time most of my life trying to use God to benefit me. And now I'm aligning myself with God. I find that when I allow the Holy Spirit to lead me, the decision making is much better. And it gets me to where I need to be. When David and Eve sinned, they were both idle. They were doing things that they shouldn't have been doing. They were bored. Eve should have been with Adam. David should have been out fighting in the war. But instead they were sitting, David was with Bathsheba. Most times when people sin, it's because they're idle. They're on their phone. They're not with friends.
So what message would you have for the listeners tonight about being idle?
Get out of being idle. Pack your schedule. Find people that can build you up.
And what message would you have for all the listeners tonight, Matt?
Reach out to somebody. Talk about what's going on. Email me. Happy to talk to you. Don't isolate.
And Matt, would you be willing to talk about your adult autism diagnosis?
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to talking about anything. I don't try to put myself in a box. In other words, I'm not going to define myself by a diagnosis. That's something that's in the DSM-4. I don't, all the DSM-4 wants to do is put everybody in a box. And you can't box me up. I explode. So
if I put you in a jar of jam, would that be better?
No, it wouldn't. I don't want to be in a box. I was in a box. I was in a box. 36 months.
When I was diagnosed with a lot of mental disorders and that, they diagnosed me with so many that I just said, you know what? I'm just a jar of jam, different jars of jam, because there's so many different diagnoses that they just throw labels onto everybody and put everybody into boxes, like you said, So I kind of sweetened it up and said, well, put me in a jar of jam. There's blueberry jam, there's strawberry jam, there's raspberry jam, blackberry jam, but I'm not going to be known as the jam. I'm going to be known as the flavor inside of it. And I think that's what mental illness is we need to understand the diagnosis. We're being told and labeled, but we're not understanding the diagnosis that we're being given.
And that's one person's opinion.
Right?
And human beings' opinion, and human beings are not always right. I don't care how much schooling you've had. I know brilliant people that know more about that Bible than folks that have gone through seminary school and have their doctorate in theology.
When you hear the word mental health and mental illness, Matt, what comes to mind for you?
What comes to mind is a institution that you put people because you don't know what to do with them. So
they're not understanding us, correct?
I don't think they understand them, no. Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People seek first to understand, then to be understood.
And that's what we usually do in today's society is we judge what we don't understand. And do you feel that is something that has happened to you? People have judged you without understanding who you are.
All the time, Liz. All the time.
Well, Matt, I really want to just thank you for sharing your story and coming and sharing your book with us tonight and getting out the truth and the awareness, because that's how we make a difference, is by sharing stories and bringing the awareness to the table. So I want to thank all the listeners and viewers that joined us. And as well, I'm just going to do a wrap up of what tonight's tea time was. And again, Matt, if anybody would like to grab Matt's book, I'm going to put the link up here on the screen. Matt, if you would just like to let people know where they can get the book as well.
My book is available on Amazon. You can email me, bullybehindbars@gmail.com. I'm on Instagram, bullybehindbars, Facebook, matthew.melvin.5621, X bars bully. Reach out. Let me know what's going on. Happy to help in any capacity that I can.
Well, thank you so much. What an honest and eye-opening conversation. Matthew, thank you for sharing your story with courage and transparency. You reminded us that people are more than the worst decisions they have ever made, and the accountability and growth can exist together. Tonight, we were reminded that the justice system, life challenges, and personal struggles can shape people into powerful ways. But what mattered most is what happens next, the willingness to learn, to change, and to take responsibility for the future. Your story encourages others to reflect on their own choices, to extend compassion, where it is needed, and to believe that transformation is possible even after the hardest chapter. To everyone listening, may you leave this tea time thinking deeper about empathy, responsibility, and the power of second chances. Until our next cup, share, keep choosing awareness, understanding, and the courage to grow. And I'll see everybody next Tuesday and next Thursday with 4 new tea times, and we'll do this all over again. So thank you all for joining me tonight on Tea Time.